Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. It's the Sunday talk from Daishu-in West. I'm Koju. Thank you for tuning in. It's a beautiful, beautiful day here at the temple before it starts raining again later in the week. Now we're well into our winter pattern already, it seems like, which is good. We need the water. The ponds are coming back. The spring is coming back. It's lush and green here in the winter time, not dry and bare. And it's very nice, actually. I went to a memorial service this last week. A family member had suddenly had an accident and died. There have been an awful lot of these this year. Daijo, the former priest here at Daishu-in West, he would always say that nobody ever knows how much time they have. Nobody here knows when they're going to die. And so nobody knows how much time they have. Whoever you are, you have the karmic affinity, the karmic link to have stumbled across this video and hear my words. And although I don't know who you are, we have that karmic link. That is obvious, actually, just simply because we make a connection. And even though I don't know who you are, we are connected. I am connected to you. And that is actually a very, very magical, miraculous even, occurrence. That there is anything at all, in fact, is a miraculous occurrence. Unfortunately, we seldom realize that. We seldom live that understanding, except at these noticeable times of birth and death and sudden seismic changes in our life, which call into question our fundamental assumptions. And when we look at things from a different perspective and we notice how wonderful everything is, and we have the opportunity, as I did this last week, to get together and see those people who we perhaps have not thought of in a while, and perhaps even taken for granted a little bit, thinking that they will always be there. And we don't visit, we don't call like we should, we don't send the card, because we've sort of started to take it for granted that that person will be there, that they are, that we have that connection. The wonder of it doesn't hit the same way that it does at these times. So part of what I try and do is my aspiration is to see this opening my eyes in the morning, not just with the people in our lives, but with the fact that there is actually anything at all, and that it all just isn't, reality. The world isn't just a howling void of random chaos. Although it may seem that way sometimes, it is not. Everything that arises, everything that occurs, is a wonder. And it's really only just one thing that occurs. It all depends on itself. It all depends on the apparent differences in phenomena all depend on the other phenomena, which are apparently different, but they're just the fingers of the hand or the different waves in the ocean. And when we see the reality of it, when we have that opportunity, that sudden jump where we see things from a different perspective, from from a more whole perspective. And we notice that they are not just individual waves, but in fact they are already themselves the ocean. And then it's and then we remember. We have that opportunity to return to the original gratitude that is a natural response to seeing things as they are. That there is something. That we opened our eyes this morning and said, I am. And being grateful even for the painful, perhaps particularly for the painful experience, because they give us this remembrance. They help us with this remembrance. So not only the gratitude for what we've been given, what we are, but also for the things that have been taken from us, for the painful experiences, and perhaps even more so those experiences, because they show us this. When things are good and we're happy and loved and cared for, there's a tendency to get lazy and to start taking that for granted. And it's the painful experiences that show us how, not everything, all experiences in fact show us how wonderful everything is. But for whatever reason, in our infinite capacity for stupidity and ignorance, it's the painful ones that tend to make us look. And we're like, ouch, this hurts. Why? And then we look. It's not that the good experiences are any different. They're not. No phenomenon is any more or less an aspect of the universal than any other. But for whatever reason, it is the difficult ones, the painful ones, that wake us up and make us say, oh, I need to take a look at this. I should appreciate this, because maybe I didn't for a while. Maybe I forgot. I got kind of lazy and complacent and forgot to show appreciation, to live that gratitude in everything that I meet. And oftentimes we're prevented, perhaps, not being able to see the whole means that we're caught by something. We're stuck in a particular viewpoint, in a particular concept. A concept of myself, a concept of who I am, a concept of what I think about things, or whatever it is. We're stuck in that thing, and our attachment to that limited viewpoint prevents us from seeing the entirety. But we naturally, of course, we aspire to freedom if we recognize that we're stuck. If we don't recognize we're stuck, then how could there be a problem? If we're not, maybe we're not stuck, who knows? But if we feel that we're stuck and we acknowledge the fact, then of course we're searching for freedom, for unstuckness, to set down the encumbrances that we have picked up along the way. Sometimes people say break the cycle. We have these encumbrances which are a product of where we came from, the environment that spawned us. We came from some place, and we take the encumbrances of that place with us, whether they're familial or cultural or whatever. Those karmic ties that you and I have, we also have with everything, with everything that has ever arisen for us ever. And sometimes they're not so good. Sometimes they feel, we get stuck in them, and they feel weighted and impossible. And we naturally want to get out of that. We want to break the cycle, as they say. And oftentimes people do extravagant and crazy stuff to break that cycle. And they don't want to continue the karmic difficulties of the environment that they came from. So they throw it all away and they go someplace completely different, or they live in a completely way, or they change themselves, or do radical things. But however it ends up looking, if we are still hooked by that environment, if we are still a slave to those encumbrances, if we are still responding out of the pain of that which was, then we haven't broken any cycle, have we? We're still, no matter what our life looks like, we're still stuck in that. That dynamic isn't really changed, isn't really broken, until we have seen into the unreality of the hang-up, of the difficulty. And then our life might look however it looks. It might look the same as where we came from. We might have never left our birth home, and we're still living in, with our great-grandparents and grandparents and parents, and doing the same thing that they do. But if we are not caught by that environment, then there is no cycle. It is broken. Never existed. And there is freedom. Whereas somebody that might hop the train in the middle of the night and go to the big city and live someplace completely different, doing something completely different, they might still be stuck in that place that they came from, in that carrying that encumbrance that they brought with them. It has to be atoned for, our attachments. They have to be truly surrendered and atoned for, and given up completely. And I don't think they necessarily go away, but they don't have any weight to them anymore. They're just ephemeral clouds, ghosts. Maybe they're still here, maybe they still make themselves known, and you have that voice in your head, and that's just who you are. For the rest of our lives, we just have that part of ourselves, which is from there and is of that place. Had that encumbrance, got really, really stuck. And we all have had the experience, I'm sure, of being stuck on something for a long time, and then somehow, some way, you get over it. And you might be reminded of it at some point and be like, I was really hung up on that. But we got out somehow. So let's take a deep look at that process. And know that it doesn't matter what it looks like now. It might matter a little bit, it's not that it doesn't matter. It's that it's not the final word. Sometimes being in the situation can make it very, very difficult. In a certain situation can be very, very hard. It can be very, very hard to change those patterns if we're stuck in a particular situation. Sometimes we need to kind of throw it all away and start anew. But the throwing it away and starting new doesn't mean that we got free, is the point. The freedom is it is unrelated. It is unrelated to how the manifest looks. It's already free. We're just hung up on some point. We just got hooked by something. And if we can see what that is and start working with it, then change is actually possible. And then we can live in this open, free way with gratitude for everything that arises, even the painful things that got us stuck. Because if we didn't get stuck and learn about getting unstuck, then we would just continue in our own limited, kind of stupid viewpoint. But just the idea that, oh, I'm stuck on this thing, and there is a way of getting unstuck, is a miraculous, wonderful thing. And the gratitude for everything that we are given is a natural response to that knowing that change is possible. Well, thank you for tuning in, and we are having Sesshin starting on the 25th of this month, and then we go straight into Rohatsu on the 1st of December and have Rohatsu all the way through to the morning of the 8th. So if you would like to come to the temple and do some sitting, learn about Sesshin and what we do, that is a good time. So the website is daishuinwest.org. That's because nobody knows how to ever spell it. DAISHUINWEST.org. And if you send an email to the contact at that website, it comes straight to me. ありがとうございます。